Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round, and today I'm talking about the new Shudder original series, The Creep Tapes, which follows, I guess we have to call him Peach Fuzz, because in the first movie he said his name was Joseph, in the second movie he said his name was Aaron, who was the victim in the first movie, and now he's calling himself Jeff Daniels, but all we really know is that it's the creepy-ass serial killer played by writer-creator Mark Duplass. So, I have really been anticipating this series because I adore the first two Creep movies. They're some of the only found footage movies I actually like. Normally, it's a subgenre I can't stand, but I love the realism of it, and the fact that Peach Fuzz kind of reminds me of people that I've met, which is really frightening on another level. So, I was really looking forward to this series. I watched the first two episodes on Shudder, and I have very mixed feelings. In some ways, I think the shorter episodic format works for and against it. There's things that I like. There's things I didn't like. We're all going to get into that. First and foremost, though, I am going to get into spoilers for the first two episodes. So if you haven't seen them, go watch them both. It's easy. They're only like 24 minutes apiece, and then come back here. You better come back. Anyways, let's get into it. Let me start with what I really liked. So, the concept of taking, we've had two feature-length movies, and the idea of let's do a series where each episode is a different tape, and, Peach Fuzz with another victim and another con, and sort of like the relationship he builds with them. That's a cool concept. I love that. I'm not crazy about the runtime, because I feel like in just those 20 minutes, you're just starting to get into it, and then it ends. And as much fun as it was to see, that axe scene in the first episode, Mike, incredibly tense, incredibly well done. Great Shining reference, even though they do kind of come out and say they're referencing The Shining, which takes away a little bit from it, but I still enjoyed it. I kind of wanted more with it, and I wish that the episodes were 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that. I think would work a lot better with pacing and would give us time to get to know these victims. Because they're interesting people, and I love how Peach Fuzz kind of almost does a cold read on the person that he's with, and he sees, how am I going to get to them? How am I going to be creepy with them? How am I going to lure them in? What is unique to them for me to do? And you, the audience, never know really which way he's going to go. I mean, ultimately you know how it's going to end, but you don't know how he's going to get there. So, let's talk about the first episode, Mike. Definitely my favorite of the two. I really like I'm a movie guy, so the fact that he went through the ruse of, this is my acting reel was just of interest to me. But I love how Mike isn't even that weirded out, because actors are pretty weird people. I know, I've worked with them before. They're they're not all going to kill you with an axe, but some of them you're not so sure. So I love the awkwardness between them. I love his entrance as Dracula. I love that they redo the scene from Misery, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. So the first episode felt very much like Creep. And what I mean by that is it follows the formula of hey, you have a person coming to this secluded house in the middle of nowhere. It's snowing. It adds to the effect. It adds to the isolation. And it feels very much in line with the first two movies. So on the one hand, part of me is well, it's a formula that works, but I kind of wish they were doing something different. But the other part of me is this is Creep. This is what Creep's all about. This is the quintessential, I don't know, vibe that is Creep, that makes Creep what it is, and what I enjoyed about the first two movies, and what I enjoy about this series and this episode. That being said, when we get to the second episode, Elliot, I kind of had to eat my words, because I'm I kind of wish they would do things a little differently. And then they do. It's out in broad daylight. It's still the middle of nowhere, but it's bright. The sun is shining. We've got Elliot, who's, bird watching, trying to get that perfect picture of that perfect bird at that perfect time. And you've got Peach Fuzz dressed in this weird, like, 70s porn stash / he almost looks like a World War I soldier with the way he, like, parachuted down. Or pretended to, from Elliot's perspective. And I liked that it offered something different, but at the same time, I'm like, this doesn't feel like Creep. And I know the hypocrisy of that, and that's something that I kind of have to wrestle with myself, that I asked for something different, and it did something different. Ultimately, I think the main reason I liked the first episode, Mike, better was I couldn't take Elliot seriously. The episode, not the character. Well, both. Because he ends up killing him with a plastic bag, which I know is possible. I know it can be done. I know you can suffocate somebody with them. It's just like an ordinary, like, Walmart bag. It's never not comical to watch two grown men running around and one's with a plastic bag trying to kill him with it. And it's like he sees him coming. So it ends up being unintentionally hilarious. So I think that might be my beef with the second episode, and that I will enjoy seeing the series go in different directions for the remaining 4, which I am still really excited about. I still intend to watch the rest of them and do reviews of each one. Because at its core, this is Mark Duplass's magnum opus. This is, I know he's, he was on The League. I didn't really watch that. I'm not a sports guy. But for me, for horror fans, this is his thing, and his character, Peach Fuzz, which I hate calling him that because it sounds so silly, but I don't know what else to call him other than the serial killer or Mark Duplass. But I love what he does with that character, that it's very, he's almost like a chameleon, and there's something terrifying, but fascinating, and almost hypnotic about it. And the way that, like, you can almost see in his eyes the moment he decides, like, alright, I'm gonna kill this person now. Like he's been toying with them and having fun with them this whole time, which is kind of why I wish the episodes were longer, because it feels like just when you're getting into it, just when, the victim and Peach Fuzz are starting to have, like, this dynamic, oh, well, the episode's over. Now, I know the first 2 movies were by no means 3-hour epics. I think the first one came in at like an hour 20. I just think a little bit more time, even like 40 minutes, I think would be enough to get to the meat of it. All that being said, I still really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite Shudder original series. Definitely going to check out the rest. And, hey, you know what? These are just my thoughts. This is just my channel. I would love to hear yours. What did you think of the Creep tapes? How did you think it compared to the first 2 movies? Do you hope that it stays this kind of anthology? Each episode is its own thing, or kind of follows a narrative? Do you want to see Peach Fuzz on the run from the cops? Would that then cease to be Creep as well and just become a run-of-the-mill crime thriller? I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up being invited to some house in the middle of nowhere where it's snowing, and a guy who claims his name is Jeff Daniels wants to do an acting reel and pressures you into staying overnight even though it's snowing, and then reenacts a certain scene from The Shining. That was a long rant, sorry. And as always, every day is Halloween.